Is it required? No. Could you do none of these things and still create the life that you want to? Sure. But if you do these things, it will make you more likely to get the life that you want, but then also at the same time, it also make it easier. Today, we're going to be talking about the 9 things that you need to start doing in your life if you want to be more successful. Now, when we talk about success, the word success is a relative term. You know, when I say success to some people, it could mean that you are worth $10 million. Success to some people could mean that you're an incredible parent. Success to another person could mean that you have a job that you make, a good amount of money, but you're able to travel more than an average person because that's what you really want to do. But really what it comes down to is these 9 different steps are going to help you be more successful, kind of get yourself together, get yourself back in line. And do you have to do every single one of them? No. Is it required? No. Could you do none of these things and still create the life that you want to? Sure. But if you do these things, it will make you more likely to get the life that you want, but then also at the same time, it also make it easier. So shall we dive in? Let's do it. Number 1. They wake up early. Not every single successful person wakes up early, but I would say 85, 90% wake up earlier than they need to. And the reason why is because they work on themselves before they go out and they give themselves to other people or their business and their children. If you look at people like Richard Branson, he wakes up at 5:30 in the morning. Tim Cook, who runs Apple, 4:30 in the morning. Howard Schultz, who runs was the founder and CEO of Starbucks, 4:30 in the morning. Really what it comes down to, and I think the overall attitude behind it that's important, is they wake up proactively and not reactively. And they decide, you know what, I'm going to wake up earlier so that I can get some time to myself, maybe get a workout in, maybe do some reading, whatever it is they want to do. If you have an hour to kill watching TV before bed, just take that hour, go to bed earlier, and then wake up an hour earlier. So you go to bed earlier, you wake up earlier. The day is the same length. It's just if you're sleeping for 6 hours or if you're sleeping for 7 hours, you're sleeping for 9 hours, whatever it is, just shift the time that you go to bed. If for me, I have less energy at night. Some people have more energy at night. So what is the right situation to create an environment where you can wake up earlier? You and your body are different than me and my body and everyone else's, but if it's something that you want to do, it is 100% possible. So ask yourself, do you wake up early enough for you time? That's the thing to think about. The second thing that I've found with the most successful people is they read almost every single day. It's really interesting. There was a study that was done like 10 years ago that found out that the average successful CEO reads about 60 books per year, which is more than 1 book per week. But 80% of the people in the United States, households in the United States, 80% didn't even buy a book. So you could either not read, and you're probably going to be more in the category of a normal average person, or you could read like crazy and start getting yourself more into the category of people who are more successful. If the average CEO reads more than a book per week on average, maybe you should just, as Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues. Maybe you should just follow the tips to success. It's also been found that reading every single day lowers your stress. It fends off neurodegenerative diseases like dementia. So if you want a healthier brain and you also want to be more successful, why don't you just take 15, 20 minutes a day, build it into your schedule, probably build it into the extra hour that you're waking up earlier, and just see if you can read every single day. So ask yourself this question. How often are you actually reading, and is it often enough? Cool. That's number 2. Number 3, more often than not, they exercise consistently. And the reason why is because they understand that there is a mind-body connection. They understand that the better your body is, the better that your body is functioning, the better that your mind is going to be functioning. And your mind is the most important part to create the life that you want. And so essentially, you're going to most likely have a better life. The body makes more energy when you work out more often. And so if you're sitting around and you're like, well, I don't have enough energy to work out, your body adjusts. That's the beautiful thing, is as you start working out more, your body makes adjustments and actually starts making more energy. And so what you can do is start building in the practice of exercising every single day. It doesn't have to be like hardcore, intense weight training every single day, but can you get the actual movement that you need to every single day? It could be weightlifting, it could be stretching, it could be yoga, it could be going for a run. Whatever it is that you want to do, can you start to develop? Because it is true, if you don't use it, you lose it. You might be 30 years old right now, but I guarantee you, if you don't start using it, you're going to get to 60 and you're going to have a lot of problems. And so can you start exercising more, using that mind-body connection so that your mind and your body function better throughout the day? So ask yourself, how often are you working out and how often do you want to work out? Okay. Number 4 is they write down their goals. There was a study, and you've probably heard me say this many times, in the 70s, where Harvard did a study with their graduating class, or people who were getting their MBA, and they found out that 3% of their students wrote down their goals. They followed up with all of them, and that was about 10 years later in the 80s, and they found out that those 3% that wrote down their goals were 10 times more financially successful than the other 97% combined. 3% were 10 times more successful than the other 97% combined. Why? Well, because it's real. When you take your goals and you don't just think of your goals, but you put them down on paper, it makes them real. It makes them physical. It makes them physically exist in this universe now. And when it's on paper, as I always say, it can be planned. And then you can get more clear on your goals. And as you get more clear on your goals, you can start planning how to actually create the goals that you need to, and planning and putting a to-do list around it. You can make a date of when you want to hit this goal by. And so they write down their goals. And I've said this multiple times in the podcast. One of the most successful people that I know, he's an incredible human. He was worth about $100 million by the time he was 40 years old. I see him all the time, and every single time that I see him, he always has his planner with him under his arm, as if he's going to class, and he's 50 years old now, and he always has his planner with him. And in the very back page of his planner is all of his goals, and he reviews his goals every single day, right? And so it's just about how do you become more aware of taking your goals from your brain, putting them down, and then having an actual plan of reviewing them as well. So ask yourself, how often do you review your goals? How often do you write down your goals? Cool. So that's number 4. Number 5, and this one is super, super important, is they find mentors. The average millionaire has had 7 mentors throughout the course of their life. And the reason why a mentor is important, whether it is a paid mentor or whether it is a free mentor, and I've done episodes on the difference between the two of those and the benefits and pros and cons of both of them. The reason why it's important to find a mentor is because mentors shorten your learning curve. You can learn from all of their mistakes. And so they basically collapse time. You could get 20 years of knowledge in 2 years from somebody. And so when you have somebody that's a paid mentor, they feel responsible for your success or your failure. So they have a little bit more skin in the game. They're more serious. If you have a free mentor, where I have many free mentors, just friends of mine who I look up to in many different ways, and I learn from them on how to be better in different categories of my life. We don't talk every single week. We don't hang out every single week, but when I do get around them, I learn from them. And so there's pros and cons to both. But really what it is like, how can you get around more people who are in the energy of the life that you want to create? If you want to be an incredible parent, how can you get around more incredible parents? If you want to be a great business owner, how can you get around other successful business owners? If you want to be a really great student, where are the great students on your campus hanging out? It's about getting yourself in the energy of that. And I think one of the things that's not really spoken about much with mentors, obviously you learn a lot from them. Obviously they teach you how to get to success quicker. But one of the things that I think is most important is as you start hanging out with more people who are more, once again, successful, whatever that means to you, the more that life that they have that seems maybe a little bit out of reach for you and maybe a little bit out of grasp, the more that it seems like, you know what, I could do this. And it seems more attainable. It seems more natural. It seems like it's something that you're going to be able to do versus being like, oh shit, I don't know if I can make this happen. And so you've got to really start to think about how are you going to find mentors? And you got to ask yourself, how will you find your next mentor? What is the next mountain that you want to climb? And then how can you go find those people? Cool. That's number 5. Number 6 is the way that they speak to themselves, more positive self-talk. They speak to themselves positively, or at least they don't talk shit to themselves. I want you to understand, we're not born with speaking positively to ourselves. It's something that we have to be intentional about. And, I did a video years ago, and in the video I had a, big old pot of water in my hand. And on the left side, I had, kind of like a flower bed, but there were no flowers in it yet. And on the right side, I had one as well. And I said that the way that you want to think about this is that when you have these thoughts, your thoughts our energy. And the energy is like pouring water into a flower bed. And over here on the right, I have a flower bed with flower seeds in it. And over here to the left, I have a flower bed that has just a whole bunch of weeds in it. When I take this water and I take my energy and I take my words and what I speak intentionally, if I speak intentionally to myself, it's like me going and pouring water. And if I speak well to myself and say, I'm proud of you, I love you, it's like me taking that water and pouring it over the flower bed so that I can water the seeds. When I talk trash to myself, it's like me taking the water and pouring it over all of the weeds. Whichever one I put the most energy into is going to grow. And so if I put a lot of my time into watering the weeds, I'm going to create more weeds. That's just what my life is going to be. So if I talk negatively to myself all of the time, I'm going to only be surrounded with more negative self-talk. It's going to get worse. It's going to seem like it's everywhere. But if I intentionally start watering the other flower bed where the flowers are and the flower seeds, then I'm going to get more positive in my life. So you got to start thinking that way. You'd never talk to someone the way that you like love, the way that you talk to yourself sometimes. So you've got to start to transition and start to think about how can life is hard, success is hard, all of these things are hard. Why make it harder on yourself by being an asshole to yourself? Why not at least try to be making it a little bit easier and be a little bit of your number one fan? And so you got to ask yourself, what part of your self-talk needs improving? Cool? Number 7 is they don't worry about failure. In fact, what I have found with like the most successful people that I know is that they embrace failure. And they know that they are going to mess up over and over and over and over and over again. And so they don't try to avoid failure, or they don't not do something and not start something because they're afraid of failing. They use it as a way to learn. They use it as a way to get better. And they use it as like, hey, I'm going to get a lesson from this. But I know, and so it's kind of like this idea of, I know that if I go and do this thing, I'm going to fail, and I'm going to fail a lot. So instead of avoiding those failures, I want to get all of them out of the way as fast as possible. And that's one of the reasons why I see that successful people take like immediate action. Like they make very quick decisions. The reason why is because they're like, I'm going to fuck it up and figure it out. And I'm going to mess up and I know I'm going to fail. And as long as I just don't stop, I'll eventually get to where I need to be. So I want to get those failures out of the way as fast as possible. And it's like the thing that I find with people who are just so afraid of starting is that they're so afraid of failing. And I'm like, there's no way to divorce the relationship of failure and success. Success, in order to get there, you're going to have to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. And then eventually you figure out what works. You can't take the two apart. They're two sides of the same coin. And so you really have to ask yourself, how can I get better with failure? How can I learn from all of my failures? Okay. Number 8, that kind of goes into what I was just talking about, is they just don't stop. Do you want to know this? The real secret to success? Just outlast everyone else, because most people are just going to give up, because that's just what people do. Most people don't start, number 1, and the few people who do start usually give up pretty soon. So if you just decide this is the thing that I want to get better at, this is the thing I want to be successful at, and you just don't stop, you will be better than 99.99% of people in the world. That's just the way that it goes. That's the secret to success. That's really what it comes down to. Just stop stopping. That's really what it comes down to, right? So do you give up on your goals too early? Lots of people get excited to start and then they give up. And so you've got to ask yourself, how often, or how, I guess the better question would be, how different would your life be if you just didn't stop? Like if you said, this is the thing, I'm going to do this, and I'm absolutely 100% going to do this, and I'm just not going to stop. Where would your life be in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years? So that's number 8. And number 9 is that they take calculated risks. They don't take risks that are crazy. They usually go, you know what, I'm kind of thinking about starting a business here. They think about starting that business, and then they say, okay, what are all of the risks? And then they outweigh all of the risks with all the pros and all the cons, and they start to see what the risks are. And so some of the most successful people, like I have a friend who I was talking with yesterday. He retired by the age of 37. Him and his wife both retired. And, he's worth, as an investor, which he's been investing now for about 9 years, he's worth over $100 million. Different guy than the guy I was just talking about right now. And he is extremely calculated. He goes through investment opportunities. He's invested in over 200 companies. And when he goes through and he vets these, he is extremely calculated. Like, he doesn't just go, oh, this company looks like they're going to do really well. He does a background on every single person who's the head of the company, which costs $1,500 per background check. And sometimes it's $5 or $6 for each company. He does all of this, and he's very, very calculated with all of the risks that he takes. Some people would see someone that's like an angel investor and be like, yeah, they just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and hope that one of them takes off. Sure, some of them might do that. But what I found with the most successful people is they take risks, but they're very, very calculated risks. On the opposite side, the people who I found who are the most unsuccessful are afraid of taking risks. They're afraid of getting out of their comfort zone. They're afraid of doing something different. They're afraid of doing something that is different, that they've never done before, that's outside of their comfort zone, that makes them feel a little bit not safe. If you want to go out and you want to create something that you've never created before, you're going to have to do things you've never done before. And if you don't risk anything, you risk everything in this life. And so ask yourself the question, how can you get better at taking more calculated risks? So those are the 9 things that you need to do if you want to be successful. If you love this podcast episode, please share it on Instagram stories and tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Hey, based off of you watching this video, YouTube thinks that this video right here is the best video for you to watch to help you learn and grow and improve yourself right now. So click that. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to talk about the 4 strategies to improve your focus and improve your productivity. Let's dive in. I'm usually looking at people who own businesses, and they are not doing stuff. They're busy, they're working, they're always taking action. But really what it comes down to is don't pay attention to the amount of hours that you work. Pay attention to how much output you get from every single hour of work. Some people could sit and they can work for 8 hours and they can get less done than people who work for 2 hours. And so really what it comes down to is, how do we get more focused whenever we are sitting down to try to take action? And how do we improve our productivity as we're doing it as well? And so let's go through the strategy. Strategy number 1 is to get really good at mastering the art of single tasking and to really understand what single tasking is. So single tasking is the opposite of multitasking. Multitasking means that you're working on 2 separate things at one time. And cognitive psychology tells us that the brain does not perform well when it's scattered among multiple tasks. Many studies have shown that you will have better productivity and you will create better products or create better whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you're trying to sit down and be more creative, you're trying to create a product, if you're trying to sit there and be more productive, whatever it is, that when you focus on one thing and one thing only, you will get more done if you're focusing on that one thing versus trying to do 2 things at once. And single tasking allows for much better concentration, leading to higher quality output. It also reduces the cognitive load and mental fatigue associated with constantly shifting your attention. So there was a study that was done in 2008, and it was called, "Is Multitasking a Myth?" And the study showed that multitasking, when somebody went and did multitasking, that the brain becomes overloaded with tasks. And in turn, there's reduced efficiency and effectiveness in performing those tasks. And the research indicated that the brain's frontal lobe becomes activated during multitasking, which is associated with a decline in cognitive performance due to the overloading of the working memory. And so if you want to get more done, immerse yourself into one thing. There's a great book called One Thing. It completely changed my life. It made me go full on 100% in this podcast, full on 100% in the business that I have now, where I was running 2 businesses at one time. And I was like, I've got to focus on one thing and one thing only, because both are not going to succeed at the way that they could. And so which one do I want? I was like, I had an Amazon business at the time. So I was like, do I want to do the Amazon business? I also had this coaching business at the time and the podcast. And I was like, do I want to be known in 5 years from now as the guy who's doing Amazon or the guy who's trying to coach people and help people get better? And I was like, that's an easy one. And I went with what I'm doing now. And so immerse yourself into one thing. And if you're sitting down just doing a task, bring all of your brain power to that task. Wouldn't it, why would you want to bring less than 100% cognitive performance to one thing that you're trying to do? So therefore you get it done faster and you also get it done better. And so what you do is you prioritize your tasks. You identify what's the most critical task for the day, and then allocate your best time to be uninterrupted while you're working on this. And you use something that's called the Pomodoro technique. And the Pomodoro technique, which I've said so many fucking times on this podcast, is what I recommend. Like, I recommend this to people, and then I get emails and I get messages on Instagram of like people who try it and they're like, I can't believe how well it works. Pomodoro technique means 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. And you focus on one thing and one thing only for 25 minutes. You take your phone, you put it in another room, you only focus on one thing. You turn off your browser so you can't go to other websites. If you have an idea pop into your head, you can write it down on the journal next to you. But you put all of your brain power for 25 minutes into this thing. And what it does is it enhances your productivity, but it also really makes you start getting focused at something. If you're somebody who is not really good at focusing, if you're not really good at sitting down and putting trying to get your brain on board with what you're trying to do, if you can start getting better at the Pomodoro technique, it's stressful at first when you're trying to improve your focus. It becomes stressful, but it's stressful because you're challenging yourself. You're getting out of your comfort zone. You're forcing yourself to grow. And so with the Pomodoro technique, if you're scattered, if you have ADD, if you're all over the place, it's like, I'm going to take all of my brain, I'm going to focus it on this thing. And when my brain wants to think about something else, I'll bring it back to this thing. And when my brain wants to go somewhere else, I'll bring it back to this thing. And my brain wants to go somewhere, and it's just literally, I'm going to train my brain to focus on this thing. And so for me, and I write about this in my book, but I write about the Pomodoro technique is 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. I used to struggle to get to 25 minutes. It was like hard to get my brain to focus on one thing. And then I'd get to 25 minutes and I was like, I don't feel like that was enough time. Like I could keep going. So then I went to 30 minutes and then I went to 35. And now usually when I do sessions, I call it Pomodoro Plus. It's just something I made up. I'll usually do 45 minutes on, 10 minutes off. I don't recommend starting there. I recommend 25, 5. But then eventually you can move it up to 45, 10. What that shows you is I used to struggle to get to 25. Now I can get to 45, which shows you that my focus has gotten better by simply saying, no, we're going to focus on this thing. It's like breaking a wild horse. Your brain is trying to go all over the place. No, dude, we're going to focus on this one thing. So that's strategy number 1. Hey, real quick, I want to introduce you to something called Mindset Mentor Plus. If you love this podcast, you will absolutely love what I'm about to talk about. I designed Mindset Mentor Plus to help you actively integrate every one of these episodes into your life. And here's how it works. With every episode of this podcast that comes out, Mindset Mentor Plus subscribers get more. You're going to get multiple page, detailed printable worksheets, effectively a mini masterclass that's way more in depth than just this podcast. They also come with journaling questions, challenges, assignments, and so much more, so that you're not just listening to these podcasts passively, but you're actively integrating them into your life. That way you improve much faster. I also do monthly Q&A sessions in there and much, much more. If you want to learn more about it, go to mindsetmentor.com or click the link that's down in the description. Which you then bring into strategy number 2, which is a concept called deep work. So there's a great book. I'll summarize the entire thing for you right now. It's by Cal Newport, and it's called Deep Work. And he defines it as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes your cognitive capabilities to their limit. It's a lot of words to just describe doing one thing for, 2 hours straight. And so what he talks about is if you're trying to be someone who is productive, we have this arbitrary world that we grew up in that says, hey, you're supposed to work from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever it might be. What you want to do is you want to find a time when your brain seems like it's at its best. For me, my brain from like 11 to 1 is absolutely my best time. Before then, I'm a little bit tired. I'm a little bit creative. I usually like to get my workout in before then. From 11 to 1, I had my breakfast most of the time. But from 11 to 1, it's like my brain feels like it's working really well. I've had my coffee. I usually have I can have a tea at that point in time. And it's like I feel focused. After 1 o'clock, after 2 o'clock, after I've eaten lunch, it usually slows down a little bit more. I'll do my Zoom calls and catch up with my team and all that type of stuff. But my 11 to 1 is like my sacred time. And you want to protect this time as if it's sacred. So what you want to do is figure out what your time is for you. Some of you guys, it might be 5 o'clock in the morning to 7. before the kids wake up, and you could put all of your time from 5 to 7 into it. For some of you guys, you might be night owls. It might be, my best friend is 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'm already asleep by that time, but that's his time of deep work. But you want to find 2 hours every single day if you can, and create a ritual around it. Like, have it be sacred, not just like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to work. It's like, no, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to create a ritual around this and do the same type of prep. Like for me, I usually get a coffee or a tea, so I get some caffeine. My workspace is completely prepped. I put on my headphones, my noise canceling headphones. I have my most important task for the day. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I listen to the exact same song every single time that I work. I've been doing it for the past 5 years. And my brain is like literally trained like Pavlov's dogs. When this music comes on, it's time to work. And I just like click in way faster now. And so I'll just go, okay, 2 hours of work, I'm going to do it. And I'll use the Pomodoro technique, 25 on, 5 minutes off, or 45 minutes on, 10 minutes off. Boom, boom, boom. And then for 2 hours straight, I'm just focusing on getting the most output that I possibly can from one single task. As soon as that task is done, then I go on to the next one. And so really what it comes down to is start to focus on that. Start to try to have a sacred time where you're really just going to, and call it your deep work time. Put in your schedule as your deep work time. And it enhances your productivity and focus. Deep work allows you to produce better results in a shorter amount of time. Better results, shorter amount of time. That's what the entire book is about. There's studies that show it. If you want to minimize your distractions, commit to cognitive intensive tasks. And what that means is you want to sit down, get as many distractions out of the way as possible, and then focus on, I'm going to bring my whole brain to this. I'm going to drink my coffee. I'm going to put on my headphones. I'm going to listen to music without, maybe it's some deep trance music. Maybe it's meditation type music. Maybe it's just white noise. And it's like, I'm going to focus on this thing, and it is important to me. And this is what I'm going to do right now. And you try to maximize your performance as much as you possibly can, because all too often what we're doing is we're so distracted. We got this going on, and then we get an email, and then we get a text message, and then we check our Instagram, and oh my gosh, this is an idea. Oh, this guy's on tour. I wonder if he's going to be coming to Austin. You start looking at other pages, and you get so distracted, you're only giving like 40, 50% of your brain power to a specific task. And so here's how you do it. It's really interesting. Really super easy to do. You look at your schedule and you put in your deep work blocks. Have a dedicated specific time that you're going to do deep work every single day, and treat it as like a non-negotiable appointment. And what I recommend is that you do it with the time, like I said, that you have the most energy throughout the day, when you feel like your brain is most on it. And then what I would recommend, try not to eat for a little while before so that you don't use any of that energy towards digestion. And you're going to struggle. Embrace the struggle. You're trying to train your brain to embrace the struggle and trying to focus rather than seek distractions. All too often, when people are like, oh my gosh, it's so hard for me, I'm so distracted, it's so hard for me to focus, it's because you've trained yourself your entire life to be distracted. Now you need to retrain yourself to be focused. So you're enabling your mind to get into deep work when you're doing this, and you will get better at it the more that you do it, and you will get more done in a shorter period of time. So that's strategy number two. Strategy number 3 is to optimize your environment. And so create an environment where taking action is easy and distraction is hard. So clear out your workspace. If you're talking about working on something, maybe you got to sit down and write a book. Take your phone, leave it in the kitchen, get a cup of coffee or a cup of water, put on your headphones, and have nothing on your desk except for your computer. Turn off your notifications, turn off your Wi-Fi, and just work. Like design, what does it look like for an environment to be designed for you to take action? When I was writing my book, and I couldn't figure out how to get started, I was like, I have to just disappear. And so I went to Sedona by myself for a week. And I went into a place where I had like a big inspiring view that was behind the place. And so I would sit outside and I would go outside on my computer, and I was like, okay, I have 2 options. Either number 1, I can journal about what I want to create in this book, or I can just start writing. And that's it. There were no other options of things that I could do. And so it made it hard when I was at home because there were so many distractions and things going on and things I could distract myself with. When I went to Sedona, there were no distractions. There was nobody there to distract me. My phone was in the kitchen. I didn't have my Wi-Fi on. I could either journal about what I wanted to journal about, or I could write on my computer. And that was it. Environmental psychology shows that physical spaces influence the way that you think, the way that you feel, and the way that you behave. And so here's how you want to do it. You want to create a deep work environment. Find a quiet place, a comfortable place, a place that you could be undisturbed. Some people like me, like I love, looking at the view at my house. We have a nature that's all behind my house, and I prefer to have that as my backdrop. I have a friend that works in his closet because it's just, there's no distractions. What do you want? I don't know. Whatever makes it easiest for you to take this action. And then you use stuff like noise canceling headphones to create an environment that you can get into deep concentration. You find the music that helps you get into deep concentration. You clear out your area, nothing on your desk, get rid of and control all of the visual clutter that could be around you, get everything out of the way, whatever it is you can, put your phone away, put a sign on your office that says, you're working, put a sign on your back if you work at a cubicle, put your headphones on, and just let people know like, hey, if you're at your office, if you're at your cubicle, don't talk to me right now. Talk to me after 1 p.m. and create an actual physical environment. And what I found is that the most consistent, I put this in my book as well, the most consistent people in the world, the ones that are consistent with taking action, are not the ones who have the most willpower. It's the people who design environments where their willpower will not be tested. Me, I know that if my phone is next to me, I'm going to pick it up and check it 27 times because of the fact that I have a business and I have text messages and I have people I got to check in and see how things are going. But if my phone is in the other room, I can't get distracted by that. And so it's like, how can I not test my willpower? And think about that. If you have other people that are constantly coming in, if you have children that are coming into your room, maybe it's about talking to your spouse and be like, hey, honey, I got my 2-hour block, deep work. I've got to get it in. Can you make sure the kids don't come to the door? Whatever it is. And then, trade off, give them a couple hours off in the evening, whatever it might be. Do you have all of the tools that you need in your area that are within arm's reach? You don't have to go run and get it. Is there enough light? The more light that's inside the room, the more that you're likely to be awake and to be focused as well. And, start to see what works for you. Try it out. Go to a clear desk. Just put your computer on top of it. Put your headphones on. Have nothing else around you. See how that works. And then you just start having small tweaks. Change things around a little bit. You start to realize, like I also wrote about this in my book, that, where your eye level looks at changes how much focus you have. When your eyes are lower in the frame, like you're looking down, it actually starts to signal to your brain to be more tired. When your eyes are looking up above the like the middle, if you can imagine the middle of your eyesight, if you look down, it makes you more tired. If you look up, it makes you more alert. Those types of things. And so for me, like my workspace is literally designed. That's why I wrote my entire chapter on my book of like in designing your environment, where it's like, when I stand at my desk, there's a ton of light that's coming into my eyes. All of my screens, my computer screen and the secondary screen, are both above the middle of my eyesight. And I've just designed it over years just to make it exactly what I want it to be. And so it's like, for you, it might be the same, it might be different, but it's about trying these things out and then trying different things as you do it. So that's strategy number 3, design your environment so that taking action becomes easier. And then strategy number 4 is to batch all of your tasks. So when you look at your schedule and you see stuff that you do, batch all of it, put it all together. So for me, I record, today, this is the second podcast episode I've recorded. I recorded one just a little while ago. So I planned 2 episodes this morning together. Then I record 2 episodes right now. Yesterday, I planned 2 episodes and then I recorded 2 episodes, and that will be my work for the week as far as the podcast goes. The rest of the week, I can work on my business, everything else that I have to do. So if you do podcasts, do all of those at one time. If you do emails, try to see if there's a way that you can start to do all of your emails in the morning and then all of your emails in the afternoon. So you only have to do it twice instead of checking your email 145 times an hour. If you're working on a presentation, do it all in one day versus splitting it up if that helps you. And so the reason why is because when your brain is in flow on one thing, try to keep it there. And so try to batch your tasks where instead of doing, one thing one day and one thing another day and one thing another day, can you get all of your week's work for, like for me, podcasts done at one time? Can you get all of your emails done for the day, in the morning, and then in the evening? And what really changed my mind around emails and how it was possible not to have to check them all the time every single day was reading the 4-Hour Workweek, where he described how he did it. And he designed his environment to be like, no, I want to be focused. And in order for me to be focused, I have to get away from emails. And so if I'm going to get the best work that I possibly can, well, then I need to make sure that I'm away from the emails. I'll do my emails in the morning. I'll do my emails in the afternoon. And in between those times, he literally has an autoresponder that says, I will email you back either between 9 a.m. in the mornings or after 4 p.m. And so really what it comes down to is like anybody can be focused. Anybody can be productive. If you're making excuses as to not being, oh yeah, I've got this problem and this is wrong with me and all that stuff, it's not the truth. Everyone's got different levels of focus that they have, but every single person can improve their focus. And it comes down to, like I said, not how many hours you work every single day, but the output of what you get for every single hour that you work. And so these are the 4 strategies you want to use in your life to improve your productivity, to improve your focus. And that's what we got for you today's episode. So if you love this episode, please share it on Instagram stories and tag me in at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. The only way this podcast grows is from you guys sharing it. So if you would share it, I would greatly appreciate it. It would really, really help us out in growing and trying to impact more people's lives. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Hey, if you've been following me for a while now and you're really serious, like truly ready to transform your life from the way that you think to changing your habits to overcoming your fears and limiting beliefs and actually start to live the life you've been dreaming of, I have something that you're going to want to be a part of. I'm about to launch something that's going to be really, really powerful to the public, and I want you to be one of the first people to know about it. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working closely with a small group of people. I'm going to be coaching you. I'm going to be guiding you. I'm going to be pushing you to your next level. And I'm not going to be sharing all the details just yet, but if you've been waiting for a sign to go all in on yourself and your life, this is it. All you have to do is go to coachwithrob.com right now and you can join the waitlist. When you're on the waitlist, you'll be one of the first few people to actually know when the doors open, and you'll get early access plus a massive discount. Again, all you have to do is go to coachwithrob.com, or you can click the link that's down in the description, join the waitlist, and you will know as soon as I launch it. And now, back to the show. I get a question for you though before we start. Do you ever feel sometimes in this world that we live in that your brain is like glitching? And what I mean by that is that you're like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna get some work done, I'm gonna be productive. And then suddenly you're checking your phone, you're hopping between tabs that are on your computer, you're on your phone scrolling mindlessly on Instagram or TikTok, and you don't even consciously do any of it. Like it just kind of happens. Have you ever found yourself in that situation? Well, I'm sure that you probably have. I find myself there all the time. But then you start to wonder yourself, like, why can't I focus? Like, why can't I sit down and actually focus and get done what I need to get done? Like, why do I feel stuck even though I'm doing everything that's right? Why do I keep feeling like I'm working hard and spinning my wheels? And so today, what I'm going to talk about is the antidote for all of that. And I'm going to teach you basically how to reclaim all of those things, your focus, your motivation, your drive, and especially your joy, like your joy for life. It's time to add some more fun. It's time to add more color to your life, to actually have more happiness when you experience things instead of things just feeling kind of like muted. And we're going to talk about one of the most powerful tools that rarely people talk about. And it's this idea of a dopamine detox, a dopamine fast. And this isn't like a biohack your way into being a productivity machine. It's really about, more than anything else, healing your nervous system and retraining your brain and reconnecting with your purpose. And once again, having more joy in your life. And so I really, really, really feel like today's episode is really important. And I hope that every person who's listening to this tries this at least one time just to see the benefits. So let's dive in and let's talk about it. So when you look at dopamine, everybody's heard of what dopamine is, but what is it actually? Dopamine is often misunderstood and people think it's like a feel-good chemical. It's a pleasure chemical. But that's only kind of part of the story. Dopamine is your brain's motivation fuel. It's the chemical behind wanting something, behind craving, behind anticipation of something, behind seeking. And it's also the chemical behind addiction. The most addictive drugs in the entire world are high dopaminergic drugs like cocaine, methamphetamines, nicotine, opioids, whatever you say it. I think it's opioids. And it's the chemical of motivation. And it pushes you towards doing something. It pushes you towards your goals, or it pushes you towards, scrolling on your phone for a little while. And it's what lights up when you're chasing a reward. And your brain loves that chase and it loves getting there. But the problem is your brain doesn't care what the reward is exactly. It doesn't care. It treats Instagram likes and potato chips and doom scrolling And porn, the same way that it uses and thinks of deep goals and personal growth and deep relationships. It doesn't matter where it gets the dopamine from, it just kind of wants the dopamine. And if it gets a hit of dopamine, your brain goes, oh my gosh, yes, I want more of that. And over time, if you're not paying attention, this pattern will evolve and it creates a really big problem for a lot of people. And the reason why it's such a big problem is because we live in a world of hyper overstimulation, like way more than it should be. We have highly processed foods. We have, you could scroll all day long for the rest of your life on social media. So you have infinite scrolling you could do. We have video games that are just fast paced and insane at this point. We have on demand everything. We have texts and emails all day long. And your brain, dude, it's exhausted. Like it's just like, can I get a freaking break? And when you constantly flood your brain with dopamine spikes, your baseline drops. And this is really important for what we're going to talk about today and why you want to do this. When your dopamine baseline drops, what it means is that you can't focus very well. You lose motivation for meaningful work. The simple pleasures in life don't really give you any pleasure anymore. It just kind of feel dull. And you crave these quick hits of dopamine to avoid deep work. And studies have actually shown that this overload in your brain and your system can impair your ability to filter distractions, which leads you to being, a huge lack of focus, heightened irritability, more confusion, more agitation. And there's a thing that's called the reinforcement sensitivity theory that says that overstimulation is linked to anxiety. And it's activated when all of the stimuli that's coming into our brains all day long exceeds our brain's processing threshold. And so it's basically like if you were like, weird analogy, but it's like if you were burning your taste buds with hot sauce and doing it over and over again, eventually nothing tastes like anything. That's kind of what our lives have become. Like we have so much dopamine everywhere that we can get from all of these infinite amount of things going on around us that life just kind of loses its luster. It's not as exciting. And that's where you really want to start thinking about dopamine fasting. And it's not a punishment to you in any sort of way. What it is really more than anything else is it's a recalibration for your brain. And so a dopamine fast isn't about removing dopamine because that's completely impossible. It's about reducing the artificial spikes so that your brain can basically have a full reset. And so when you remove these distractions, what happens is your brain rebalances. It becomes more sensitive to everything, to sights, to sounds, to taste. It becomes more sensitive to small rewards now. Things that used to be exciting that aren't exciting anymore, well, they become exciting again. Another thing that happens is your focus will sharpen. You can sit and read and think and be, again, more focused and not feeling like you're distracted. You constantly have to be looking at something and doing something all the time. You could probably go to the bathroom and not have to have your phone with you, right? So your deep thoughts and your intuition also get louder. And the insight that you're looking for lives in the quiet. And your true desires start to emerge, not like the cravings that you're just trying to do of get all of this dopamine and getting it all in, but kind of like the calling that you're looking for in your life. And so the reason why this matters, the real truth is that most people in this world are not lazy. They're just overstimulated in their life, and they're also very underaligned. Meaning, you want to do meaningful work. You want to do deep focus. You want presence with your family. You want to be able to get off your phone. You want to be able to not work when you're on vacation. You want more joy and you want more happiness in your life. But your brain is stuck in this loop of like, I need the next hit. I need the next hit. I need the next hit. Exactly like an addict would be. And a dopamine fast doesn't just reset your brain. It rewires your habits in many ways as well. And what is important to you in your life. And so let me give you just the real simple neuroscience of resetting all of this and how it actually works in your brain. And then I'll tell you how to actually do it, okay? Here's what the research actually tells us. Dopamine has a baseline, which is your normal level, and spikes, which is when you get some sort of reward. So you have a normal level, and then you have the spike, which is whenever you see a puppy, whenever you get onto Instagram, whenever you have a piece of cake. So we have a dopamine baseline, which is our normal level, and then we have spikes, which is when we get some sort of reward. And when you have high frequency rewards, which is snacking a lot, scrolling a lot, constantly being entertained, you actually drop your baseline over time, which means that your normal level of dopamine actually lowers because you have so many hits of dopamine all the time. And a lower baseline means less motivation, more anxiety, and more distraction and less focus. But what happens when you remove those artificial spikes that we're talking about? Well, your baseline actually begins to rise again, which is really important. And you get more pleasure from less things. And you stop needing constant overstimulation all day long. And you basically recover your ability to feel joy, to feel focus and peace and drive. And you go from like numb and reactive and anxious to clear and calm and more intentional. So let's talk about how to actually do this. Okay, let me be honest with you. If you're going to do this, the first few hours of a dopamine fast might feel a little bit brutal. And I don't mean like it hurts in any sort of way, like you're not going to be any pain. It's not dangerous to do this, but it might feel brutal. You know, you might reach for your phone without thinking and realize, oh, my phone's not there. You might feel restless. You might feel irritated. You might even start to feel anxious. But you'll actually start to notice when you do a dopamine detox, when you do a dopamine fast, you'll notice how addicted you are to being stimulated all the time and being busy all of the time. And boredom might pop up. No big deal. What's the danger of boredom? Boredom is just the lack of stimulation. So get bored, be bored. If boredom pops up, let it. If your emotions start to pop up, you know, if you get mad or angry or agitated or sad, feel them. That's what emotions are there for. You know, it's not that boredom is not bringing up your emotions. It's finally giving you some space to let these emotions that you've been trying to push down for so long finally have some space to come up and feel expressed. If your thoughts start to race, your brain goes all over the place. Don't do anything about it. Just listen. It's okay for your brain to go all over the place. If these things happen, you're not failing. You're detoxing. And I've never heard of a comfortable detox. You know, and someone goes into rehab, their detox is not very comfortable. But it won't be as dramatic, hopefully, as doing a detox when you go into a rehab. But this is your nervous system actually working through some things and coming back online. And so here's what you really want to expect if you do a dopamine detox, okay? After you do 24 hours, if you do a 24-hour detox in some sort of way, you'll notice in that moment, as you're going through it, how often you reach for some sort of a distraction, something to keep you busy all the time. Your phone and eating all of the time and going onto the computer and going and turning on Netflix and then turning on HBO Max and then trying to watch something else and trying to keep yourself busy. You'll notice how often you reach for distractions. You'll see it. And it's crazy how much you try to keep yourself busy. We are incredibly distracted. Your mind will feel really noisy the first day because you're not keeping so busy that you're avoiding the thoughts and feelings that maybe you've been avoiding for a long time. But as you do this, you will become less reactive and less anxious. If you want to go longer than 24 hours, here's what also you'll notice. You'll mental clarity in 2 to 7 days, depending on what you want to do. I know people that do, 14-day detoxes from their phone and from TV. They notice, and what I've literally seen, like I've even personally myself, I've done a 10-day silent meditation retreat where you can't speak to people, you can't look people in the eyes, you can't journal, you can't read, you can't do it, you can't work out, you can't do yoga, you can't go for a run. The only thing you could do is meditate or stare at a tree. And what you'll start to notice as you do these detoxes is your mental clarity increases. Your emotional resilience deepens. You will feel more in control of your thoughts. You'll feel more in control of your habits. You might cry. You might laugh. You might finally start to feel again. Like I remember on day 7 of my silent meditation retreat, I felt absolute like rage come out of me. And I was so mad and I I was sore and I was meditating for so long, and I didn't say anything out loud, but I was like screaming at people in my head. And I was like, I'm just going to fight through. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep doing this because clearly there's something that this rage that's coming out of me is something that's been probably pushed down for a while. Then on day 8, I remember sitting there, and it was an hour-long meditation that I was in a session for. I stayed there for 2.5 hours because I've never felt so great in my entire life. And you don't have to do a 10-day silent meditation retreat if you don't want to. I do recommend it. It's amazing. But day 8, I remember just sitting there and just like crying because I never felt so much joy in my entire life. And the crazy thing, I was doing nothing, literally nothing. Day 9, exact same thing. Day 10, exact same thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. What was really crazy about it is then I looked at my phone after day 10 because I just wanted to see there was NBA playoffs that were going on, and I wanted to see the results. I looked at my phone for like 5 minutes and I got a headache. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I was driving back home to go from Dallas to Austin, and I stopped at a place to get a burger, and I had to walk into this restaurant, and the TVs were on and there's music playing, and I got a headache just from walking into the restaurant, being there for like 5 minutes. So you'll realize how much all of these distractions have actually lowered your joy and your depth for life. And so it's very simple of how you do a dopamine detox. There's basically 3 levels that I wrote down for you. Level 1, super simple. Just do a digital detox for a few hours. No phone, no social media, no TV for a few hours after work, and do it 1 to 2 times a week. So you come home from work, it's 6 o'clock, you turn your phone off, you put it inside of a drawer, and you pick it up tomorrow morning. You get like 8, 9, 10 hours off of your phone. Do it 1 to 2 days a week. And you replace it with stuff like going for a walk, reading a book, journaling. Oh my God, having a real conversation with another human without being on your phone at the same time. Then you just pick your phone up the next morning. So that's like level 1. Just do a digital detox for a few hours, 1, 2 times a week. The second one that you could do that I recommend is a full day fast every week if you want to. No phone, no social media, no TV for 24 hours. I recommend making it a new rule in your house and just trying it out for a month, right? I recommend Saturday, it could be no phone, or Sunday could be absolutely no phone. Just be with yourself, be with your friends, be with your family. And same thing, you replace it with walks and reading and journaling and conversations. And you take your phone, you put on airplane mode at Friday at 9 p.m., and you put it in the kitchen drawer, and you just take it out Saturday at 9 p.m. It's very easy. You won't die, I promise you. Or if you want to do level 3, which is like if you want to go for a hard reset, it would be like no tech, no stimulation, no talking for an entire weekend. If you live by yourself, just try it for an entire weekend, Friday at 8 p.m. until Monday at 6 a.m. That's 60 hours of none of it. And it could be just you. And if you live by yourself, it could be just you and silence and going out in nature and your breath and presence. And, if you want to go longer, you could go longer. If you live with family and you have children, well, then just your phone doesn't get in the way on the weekend. And so those are the 3 different levels. And if you want to go hardcore and do like a 10-day silent meditation retreat like I did, you could do that if you want to. But I recommend just starting off for, when you come home from work until right before you leave for work one day, and just see how it works. And if you're starting to notice your brain running all over the place, I recommend journaling. And I'll give you a couple journal prompts that I came up with. When you're doing a dopamine detox and you feel that itch to do something, take out a pen and paper and just say, what am I trying to avoid doing right now? Or what am I trying to avoid feeling right now? What's the emotion that I'm trying to numb? What's my inner voice trying to say? Why do I feel agitated? And you can just get curious. When you feel agitated in those moments, just get curious. Your answers could really, really surprise you. And so, it's not one size fits all, but, how often should you do it? You could do daily for 30 to 60 minutes, maybe a morning of just silence, no phone. You could do weekly. You could do 1 day off of tech for just Saturday or just Sunday. Quarterly, you could do a full weekend, a full reset of just weekend retreat and just disappear from all of that stuff. It's not about strict rules. It's just about listening to what you need and what your body needs and what your brain needs in some sort of way. And so this whole idea of a digital detox is not about punishing yourself. It's about a reset that your body really deserves, and to be honest with you, I bet every single person listening to this, your body's craving a reset. We've been trained to avoid stillness, and stillness is where you remember who you are and where your true desires return and you start to come in contact with your intuition and your life becomes more vivid again. And so you can start small, but I recommend just start it today. Give it a shot. And if you're scared, which a lot of people are, just do it anyways. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Based off of what you've been watching recently, YouTube thinks that you should watch this video next. And if you want to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos, click that button right there. When I was younger, I looked at the world very differently than I do now. And that thought pattern that I had when I was younger caused me a lot of suffering. Something would go wrong in my life, and my first thought would be like, why is the universe doing this to me? Why do I have such bad luck all the time? Why is it always everybody else gets good luck and I get all of the shit? And it could have been, money stress or relationships falling apart, or even just like unexpected detours that my life took. But I saw every challenge that came to me as some sort of evidence that there was something wrong with me, or worse, that just life was not fair in any sort of way. So it's like, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with life. And it was kind of like my first half of my life was I was just in battle with the world, with myself, with everything else versus being a part of it. And I'll be honest with you, I was really, really good at playing the victim. I had a black belt in woe is me. And my internal dialogue in the way that I would narrate everything that was going on and the way that I gave meaning to something that was going on is I would always say stuff like, oh, why do I always have the worst luck? Why can't anything just be easy for me? Everything seems easier for everybody else. It's so hard for me. Oh, or one of my favorites, what did I do to deserve this? I'm such a good person. I try to do well. What did I do to deserve this? Why are other people succeeding and I'm still stuck? And then one day, I don't even remember when it was, but I just remember learning that about the way that your thoughts create your feelings and your feelings create your actions. And I realized that my entire worldview, just to be transparent with you, it sucked. I realized that our thoughts create our feelings, and I felt like shit. So I thought to myself, okay, if I feel like shit, well, maybe I should go back one step and I should actually start paying attention to the thoughts going on in my head. And maybe if I change my thoughts, then my feelings would actually change. And I kind of realized, what if life wasn't supposed to be easy? Maybe I'm thinking in my mind, this should be easy, but maybe it's not supposed to be easy. And I started realizing and looking at reading about successful people and looking up to, reading autobiographies and looking up to certain people, whether they're athletes or CEOs or authors or whatever they might have been. And I remember looking at different YouTube videos and watching them, and I was like, it's interesting. It seems like all people that I look up to in some sort of way embrace challenge. It's not something they resist. It was more of something they embrace, as if it was some sort of fun for them. And I thought, where else do I embrace challenge? Where else do people embrace challenge? What makes challenge fun? And I started thinking about video games. And I was like, yeah, think about that for a second. Every great video game has locked doors. They have enemies that just get harder and harder and harder every single level. They have these unexpected plot twists where you think it's going to go this way, it ends up going a different way. They have these puzzles that you just can't solve until you get better or until you find a key. In harder levels, the deeper that you go. And that's what actually makes a video game fun. That's what makes it worth playing. And we will be right back. Hey, if you've ever wanted to be coached personally by me, right now is your chance. I just opened the doors to Mindset 2.0, which is a 12-week system that's designed to help you finally break free from procrastination, to stop overthinking, stop holding yourself back so that you can create the life that you want. But the doors are going to close in just a few days, and the first few people who join are going to get a massive discount plus access to exclusive bonuses that I've never put out before. And so if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. All you need to do is go to coachwithrob.com right now. Once again, coachwithrob.com, or you can click the link that's down in the description, and I'll see you on the inside. And now back to the show. Nobody plays a video game on easy mode and then just keeps on playing. Like, they eventually just get bored and they turn it off. And so what makes the video game fun is kind of sucking at the game for a little while. And you see a little bit of improvement and you get a challenge and you lose in that challenge, but you get another life back and you go and you beat the challenge a second time and you feel good about beating the challenge. But because you beat the challenge, you end up having more knowledge and skill sets. So then you're better prepared for level number 2. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what makes the game fun. And what if I just started looking at my life like a video game? And I started thinking about, well, okay, if that's the point, like, what challenges have happened to me in my life and how have they shifted the way that I see the world? And I was like, well, I had an alcoholic father and this happened and that happened and these things happened. And my father passed away when I was 15. And all of those things were really, really hard when I was going through them. But I realized that I would never change anything that happened to me because it made me stronger by going through those challenges. And I realized, oh, hold on a second. So these things that I want to be easy, these challenges that I have in front of me are actually brought to me for me to be able to grow. And that's the crazy part. Like, this isn't like some motivational, metaphor or anything like that. Like, there's actual science and neuroscience that shows why challenge is essential for humans to change and for them to grow. Like, when you look at working out, if you go and you work out, your muscles only grow when they are torn. Like, your muscles literally create things called micro tears when you work out. They're tiny little microscopic tears in your muscle. And that stress is what triggers your body to rebuild back stronger. So you can't become stronger unless you continue to place heavier and heavier loads onto your muscles. So, it shows in the human body, but it also shows inside the human brain as well. When you look at, and I spoke about this recently, the anterior cingulate cortex, it's a region of the brain that helps with focus, emotional regulation, and this is where willpower comes from. Everybody has this part of your brain, and when you do something that you don't want to do, that is the only way to grow. It only grows when you're doing something hard that you don't want to do. And so they found like professional athletes have larger ACCs in their brain because they have to show up and work hard, whether they want to or not. They're on contract. They have to. They found that people who are obese have very small ACCs inside of their brain. But when they lose weight, when they work out, when they eat healthier, when they do a series of things over and over and over again that they don't want to do, that's hard for them, that challenges them, they have a significant amount of growth in their ACC over time. And so think about that for a second. Like, the parts of your brain and your body that are responsible for strength and discipline and resilience only develop when things get hard. They only grow when things get hard. So if life were like a video game, then the challenges that come in our life wouldn't be a glitch. They wouldn't be like a problem in the universe. It wouldn't be a mistake that God made. It would be a feature built into the game of being a human. And so maybe life isn't working against you. Maybe in some sort of way, life is actually training you. And when I started to kind of look at my life this way, I'll be honest with you, it became more fun. Like, everything flipped where, I used to think, why is this happening to me? Then I would start to think, this is just extra weight that the universe is bringing in for me because there must be something in my future that I need to grow for. So this is here for me to grow in some sort of way. And you have to like burn this into your brain. Your challenges are evidence that you're being trained, not punished. See, I used to think that I was being punished all the time, as if there was something that I did when I was younger or something that I did in a past life, or it's just karma catching up to me. And then I realized, oh no, these challenges are here to make me stronger so that I can better prepare for whatever might be coming up in my future. And I was like, oh my God, now I get it. It's not, and you have to understand, like, it's not easy to believe these things when you're in the thick of it. But it is easy to remind yourself when you're in the thick of it. Like, when I go back to like the hardest, most challenging moments of my life, sitting here today, I would never want to go back to any of them. But sitting here today, I can look at every single one of them and go, wow, I can see 20 years later, 10 years later, 5 years later, that was perfect. It taught me exactly what I needed to be exactly where I am right now. And it's hard when you're like, in the middle of grieving somebody's death, or you're overdrafting your account, or a relationship is ending, or you're questioning everything about yourself. But if you can have this reframe, you can look at these challenges and go, how can I make something good out of it? How can I grow from it? How can I become stronger through this thing? And it makes it easier to fight through those things with a better mentality and to fight through them in a stronger way. And it's like a video game where like you don't face the hardest levels at the beginning of the game because everybody would just give up. You face harder levels after you have gained tools and the strength to allow you to maybe be able to win the game. And sometimes you don't win at first. Sometimes you lose 10 times in a row. And sometimes you lose and you get killed and you get lose and you get killed and you come back, you're like, oh my gosh, I've only got 5 total lives. I've already failed 4 times. And then you end up winning. But you just keep coming back. And that's the fun part about a video game. You just keep coming back. You keep learning the pattern, seeing what you could do differently. You figure out how to beat that level. And then over time, you master the game. And so you have to kind of think about this. Like it really comes down to your perspective of the world. I mean, everything really comes down to perspective. I had to make a decision at one point in time in my life when I was going through all this stuff of how I was going to view this entire world that I live in. And it came down to the decision. There's a quote by Albert Einstein that comes back to me constantly. And the quote is, the most important decision that you'll make in your life is whether you believe that we live in a friendly or hostile universe. The most important decision, Albert Einstein says, the most important decision that you'll ever make in your entire life is whether you believe that you live in a hostile or friendly universe. And for a lot of my life, I thought it was a hostile universe. It was me versus the universe, and I was doing everything wrong. And I flipped my perspective and I was like, no. This right here was actually built for me. Because that one decision of looking and saying, no, like this is a friendly universe, it changes everything else. Because if you believe the universe is hostile, every obstacle feels like a punishment. Every mistake feels like some failure in some sort of way. You live on the edge, always waiting for the next disaster. But if you believe that the universe is friendly for you, then your challenges start to become lessons for you. These delays and things that happen are just redirections for your life to be better than you thought it was going to be. And the pain that you feel is just building resilience within you. And so you start to think, oh, this isn't happening to me. This is happening for me. And that's really one of the biggest shifts in perspective you can have in your entire life. It's not happening to you. Nothing is happening to you. It's all happening for you. And it's not toxic positivity of like, I'm standing inside of a burning house and I'm like, let me figure out how to make this positive. No, it's like, get out of the house, of course. But so it's not toxic positivity. It's mental resilience more than anything else. It's deciding that this game isn't rigged and it was designed and built for you. Now, I've said it 1,000 times in the podcast, but your life is a perfectly crafted curriculum for your soul to learn whatever it's supposed to learn while it's here. So for me, I trust in that perfection. I trust in the perfection of that. So I go, okay, well, what am I supposed to get from this instead? And so really the shifts that I started making, like my old mindset would say, why is this happening to me? My new mindset would say, what is this here to teach me? My old mindset would say, I suck at this. My new mindset would say, I just need to get better at this. My old mindset would say, like, this shouldn't be so hard. My new mindset would say, this is supposed to be hard because when it's hard, that's how I grow and that's how I get better. My old mindset would say, I'm behind in life. My new mindset would say, hey, I'm just at an early part of the game. And what I realized is this mindset didn't just make me feel better. It did, just so you know, because once again, your thoughts make you feel different. So I did feel better, but it also made me take different actions. Because when I stopped resisting the world, which is one of the things I see that most people do more than anything else, like they're just resisting and fighting the world. And when I stopped resisting it, I actually started to learn from it. And so I didn't quit when things started to feel impossible. I actually started to lean in a little bit more because I was like, this is like, I'm working on a PR. Like I'm trying to bench press 400 pounds. I've never done this before. And it's like, of course I should fail a few times. And then I succeed one time. I didn't look at other people and other experts and compare myself to them. I started studying them. I started realizing like, oh, I'm just new at this. Like, this is my chapter 1. I can't compare my chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. And then what I started doing is instead of doubting my ability, I started trusting that I'm training, and I shifted my mindset as Mel Robbins said when she was on my podcast a couple of years ago. I stopped viewing myself as an imposter. I started viewing myself as a beginner, because when you're a beginner, of course you should be bad at something. Of course you should fall over and over and over again. My son is starting to walk. He's going to fall over and fall over and fall over and fall over and fall over, but he's not going to think, oh, I can't do this. He's just eventually going to get better at it. That's what beginners do. That's just the way that it goes. And so let me tell you something that most people don't hear enough. If life feels hard right now, if you feel like you're constantly under pressure and that it's just getting harder and harder for you, if the game that you're playing feels unfair, if it feels like you're a victim, if it feels overwhelming, it doesn't mean that you're losing. It just means that you're being invited to get better for a higher level. There's something that you need to learn on this level so that you can get to the next level. And if you resist it, you're just playing the same level. You're just stuck on level 5 for the rest of your life. But if you go, oh, this is a challenge I'm supposed to learn, this is the bad guy I'm supposed to beat, and you learn it, well, then you go on to the next level in life. And so your choice is you can keep thinking that life is against you if you want to. It's completely your prerogative to do that. Or you can take a step back and you can realize this whole thing is just like a giant video game. It's a perfectly crafted curriculum for you. Your life is perfectly crafted for you. Every person, every instance, every second, every challenge is perfectly crafted for you. You're the main character in this video game. The challenge is the level that you're currently on, and the reward that you're going to get is the person that you become along the way. And so, if you're playing a game, stop struggling through the game. You might as well have a little bit more fun with it. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. YouTube thinks that what you've been watching recently means that you should actually watch this video next. And if you want to make sure you subscribe so you never miss another one, click that button right there. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to make a guess, right? You are listening to this because you want more in life. Whatever more means to you, you want more, whether that's more money, more happiness, more joy, more peace, more traveling, more fun, more success, more quality relationships. You want more. And you know that in order to get more, you have to change. You've gotten to the point where you're probably not wanting to blame anybody else anymore. And you're going, well, damn it, if my life is going to be different, I have to be different. You want this life that you want in the future, and it feels like it's possible, but it's just a little bit out of your grasp. And you don't have it yet because you are not the person who can get it yet. Because if you were, you would have already achieved what it is that you want to achieve. You have to understand that if you were the type of person who could create that life that you see in the future, you would already have that life if you were the type of person who could have it. And so hopefully, or by the end of this episode, you will definitely know that it is not the external world that needs to change. It is not circumstances that need to change. It is you that needs to change. And so what I would recommend is if you can grab a pen and paper, go and grab a pen and paper because we're going to work together. It's going to be a working session. If you're driving your car, if you're at the gym, just think really deeply about the questions that I'm going to ask you here. This is an exercise that I take people through a lot of times when they're on coaching calls with me or they're at events that I'm running. And I want you to think of your perfect life in 10 years, whatever that means to you. And I want you to get as detailed as you possibly can, because a lot of times people are like, I'm like, what do you want? They're like, I don't really know what I want, right? You've got to get very clear on what it is that you want, because you're not going to be able to create it if you don't know exactly what it is. And so I want you to envision your perfect life in 10 years. And if you got a pen and paper, just start jotting things down and start writing things down as I'm talking. If you're at the gym and you're working out, start allowing your visions to start coming through. Start allowing yourself to daydream a little bit while you're doing this. What does your perfect life look like in 10 years? How happy are you? How do you talk to yourself? Where do you live? What does the perfect house look like in 10 years? What's the location look like? Like, is it a small condo in Manhattan? Is that the perfect place for you? Is it a townhouse? Is it a huge mansion that's Spanish style? Is it modern? Do you have property? Do you have no property? Are you on a mountain? Are you on a river? Are you, in the middle of nowhere? What does it look like to you? You have to see it. You have to get clear with it. You got to be able to taste it and touch it with your mind almost, right? Where is it located? What's your family look like? What's your relationships look like? What does your bank account look like? And I want you to detail as much of it as you possibly can. And the key to it as you're doing this is to make sure that you act like a 4-year-old. And what do I mean by acting like a 4-year-old? Is that don't be realistic, because there's no such thing as realistic. There really isn't. There is no such thing as being realistic. Being realistic means taking other people's expectations and planting it onto yourself. And so when you're 4 years old, remember being 4. Have you ever been around a 4-year-old? It's like magic. They can do anything. And they have this mindset where there is nothing that can hold them back. And so for this moment, as you're writing down everything that you want, allow yourself to be 4 years old again. Don't restrict yourself. Allow yourself to have fun with it. Okay. And if you need to pause me as we're going through today's episode so you can journal through it, no problem. Pause me. I'll be here literally forever whenever you want to push play again. Okay. The next thing I want you to ask yourself is when you're looking at this life, imagine that it's not you. Imagine that it's somebody else, right? When you're looking at this life and everything that you want in the future, what are the traits of someone who could create that life? If somebody has gone and created that life, or somebody could create that life in the future, describe that person to me in as much detail as you possibly can. Everything. What time do they wake up? What do they do on a daily basis? What do they eat? How often do they work out? How do they take care of their body? How do they take care of their soul? How do they take care of their mindset? What type of people do they surround themselves with? How do they speak to others? How do they speak to themselves? How do they walk through the world? What type of energy do they have? How do they carry themselves? How do they interact with themselves, and how do they interact with the world? And what you want to do is you want to get into as much detail, and don't pretend that it's you at all. I want you to see, okay, perfect life. And if somebody were able to create this perfect life, who would it be? What would they be like? And describe that person in as much detail as possible. Sometimes it's good to disassociate yourself from your dreams so that you don't put any restriction on it. And you just say, this person that has created that life, this is as much as I can tell you about them. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what is the difference between that person who you just described and you now. What's the difference between the two of them? And you start figuring out, okay, if that person created that life, all I really need to do is wake up every single day and start becoming that person more and more. Start acting like that person. Start thinking like that person. Start speaking like that person. Start speaking to others like that person. Start speaking to myself like that person. And you literally start to say, I need to become that person more and more every day. Right? So what does that person do that you do not do? Maybe they don't stay up late. Maybe they don't sleep in. Maybe they don't eat like shit. Maybe they don't talk negatively to yourself. Maybe they don't stay in contact with toxic people, right? And you start to figure out what's the difference between me and what's the difference between them. And you start to plan out what changes you need to make within yourself in order to create that life. And you can do a little, what I like to call stop, start, and continue. Okay. So Stacy, I want you to stop doing this. Stacy, I want you to start doing this. And Stacy, I want you to continue doing this. And I took that when I was first a brand new manager and I started molding it for people to be able to do for themselves. And so what I want you to do is say, okay, in order for me to shift myself into who I currently am, into that person, what do I need to stop doing? And you start writing all the things that you need to stop doing. I need to stop talking trash to myself. I need to stop eating crappy food. I need to stop staying up late. I need to stop sleeping in. I need to stop saying that I'm going to do something and not following through, right? So you write down all of the things that you need to stop doing that are holding you back from creating the life that you want. Then you ask yourself, what do I need to start doing? And once again, everybody, you can pause me as you're going through this if you're taking notes and you're journaling and you want to use this as a working session. What do I need to start doing? Okay, I need to start going to bed earlier. I need to start waking up earlier. I need to start doing my morning workouts every single morning. I need to develop a morning routine. These are all of the things I want to start doing. I need to start taking all of my meals, planning them out, and getting them done and prepped by the beginning of the week. What do you need to start doing in order to be more like that person? And what do you need to continue doing that you're already doing pretty well and you're on the right path? And you don't put any emotion into this. You don't put any judgment into this. You don't put any shame into it. It's literally just as if you were just making business decisions. What do I need to stop doing so that I can become more like that person that I see that has that perfect life, the life that I want? What do I need to start doing to be more like that person? And what do I need to continue doing to be more like that person as well? And what you realize, and it's really interesting as you start to realize it, is that it's not necessarily what you have to do. Like there's definitely things that you have to do in order to become successful, in order to change and all of that. But it's more than anything else, it's who you need to be, right? So it's not necessarily what you need to do, it's who you need to be. You need to wake up every morning and be that person. Just be that person every single day. You know, this person is now the new goal that you shoot for every single day. To put that person on. I love, one of the things that I love and I think is so important is Tony Robbins says this in one of the videos that I've seen him say. And he says, when you see this guy that's in front of you, this isn't how I was born. I built this motherfucker. And that's how he actually says, he's like, I built this motherfucker that you see in front of me. That's exactly what you need to do, is to build that version of you. That person that you see that has the life that you want is now your new goal to shoot for every single day, to be more like that person every single day. That life that you saw that is the perfect life to you, that's just a byproduct of this person and who they are and what they do every single day. And so when you are the type of person that can create that life, you automatically are going to start to do the things that you need to do. So obviously you can't just sit there and just meditate on being this person. You have to go out into the world and do things. But as you start to develop this character that you want to turn into, you actually start to take the actions that that character would take. So you don't really necessarily need to worry about what you need to do. You still need to do the things, but you worry about who you are and who you're becoming more than anything else. Who you are and who you're becoming. And you start using this person as like your North Star, like your guiding light. And you start to say, okay, like maybe you wake up, oh my God, I'm so tired. I want to hit the snooze alarm. You ask yourself this question: would the best version of myself in 10 years hit the snooze? Would the best version of myself in 10 years stay up late? Would the best version of myself in 10 years have an extra whiskey? Whatever it might be that you're doing. And you use this as a kind of a way to decipher and figure out in this weird world that we live in and we're creating, what's the best action for me to take and what's not the best action for me to take. Because all too often I hear from people on coaching calls, oh, I'm self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is going, well, I could take the right action to become the person I want to be, or I couldn't. You know what? It's easier not to, so I'm just not going to. That's what self-sabotage is. Taking the same actions over and over again that keep you stuck in the place that you're currently in. How do you get out of self-sabotage? Take different actions that are just completely different than what you normally would. So you use this person as your North Star. What would the best version of myself in 10 years do? Would they be doing what I'm doing now? Like if you're trying to become more self-aware and you sit there and you say, would the best version of myself in 10 years be doing this? If the answer is yes, keep doing it. Go for it. Do exactly what you're doing if that's what they would do. If you're sitting there and you're saying, would the best version of me in 10 years do what I'm doing right now? If the answer is no, ask yourself, what would they do? Don't shame yourself. Don't be an asshole to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't guilt yourself. That's what people tend to do. Oh my God, I'm not doing what I need to be doing. Boo-hoo. And then they get all mad at themselves. No, just, okay, so reassess. Okay, it's not, okay, this is not what they would be doing. Okay, what would they be doing? And then you just stop what you're doing immediately and you just start doing what they would do. It's not honestly rocket science, but what it is it is a way to, first off, start to plan out the life that you want, plan out who you need to become, and then have a practice of self-awareness of what it is that you need to do in the moment to become that person more. And so you start to really dive into it the question is kind of like the question I've said many times, which is what was taught to me by one of my first mentors, which is what I'm doing right now getting me closer to or further from my goals? But the question is what I'm doing right now getting me closer to or further from my goals? If it's getting me closer to my goals, then I'm just going to keep doing it. If it's getting me further from my goals, I need to stop it immediately. But it's this developing of the self-awareness to look at myself in the moment, take myself out of my body, look at myself as a third person and say, okay, is this thing that I'm doing right here getting me closer to my goals? Or in the context of what we're saying today, would the perfect version of me be doing what I'm doing right now? Yes? Awesome. Perfect. Keep doing it. That's getting you closer to your goals. Would the perfect version of me be doing what I'm doing right now? Not necessarily. They wouldn't. Okay, what would they be doing? Don't beat yourself up. Don't guilt yourself. Don't shame yourself. Just make a quick change. What would they be doing? Oh, they'd be doing this? Okay, I'm going to take this action. Would the perfect version of me hit the snooze button? Damn it. No, they wouldn't. What would they do? They would wake up and they would go through their morning routine. All right, well then I'm just going to do what they would do. And you're not building yourself based off of some person that has a status that you feel is unattainable, of like, oh my gosh, there's this billionaire that I follow that's very successful. I want a life like theirs. Because sometimes it just feels like they're too far away. It feels like sometimes I found with people is people get demotivated when they find somebody that's so far away. Oh my gosh, this guy's worth $1 billion and he's the person I want to follow. And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, would this person do this? And you're like, oh, screw it. This person's so far ahead of me. I'm never going to get there. But if you look at the perfect version of yourself, knowing that you could build yourself into that, you say, would that perfect version of me do this? And then what is the practice to make you more aware of when you fall off the path? Like, what is the practice? Is it, setting an alarm every 30 minutes in your phone randomly, and whenever it goes off, you just go, what am I doing? And you just become more aware so that you're not just in autopilot, because according to Harvard, about 48% of what we do on a daily basis is autopilot. And that autopilot has gotten you to where you are. And so if we want to change our lives, we're going to have to change what it is that we do on autopilot sometimes. And so you have to develop some sort of practice to make you more aware of when you fall off the path, and then immediately get you back on the path. And really what it's about is acting as if you already are that person. What would your life be like if you took that person and planted them into your day today and started becoming that person? If you started acting like that person, doing what that person does, talking to yourself the way that person talks to himself, talking to other people the way they talk to themselves, paying attention to who they surround themselves with, and you just start becoming that version of you, and you fast forward to 10 years from today, with having this self-awareness practice, you will create the life that you want. And I guarantee you, it's going to be even better than you could possibly imagine in your life. But what it comes down to is you deciding that you are going to change into the person that you actually want to be. Doesn't matter what anybody else wants. What it matters is, what do you want? What are you trying to create? And what do you need to do to get there? But most importantly, who do you need to be in order to get there? Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. YouTube thinks that you should watch this video next based off of your preferences. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss any more videos, hit that button right there to subscribe.